My friends, listen carefully, because what I'm about to share with you today could change the health of your hair without spending hundreds of dollars on expensive serums, chemicals, or treatments. You see, millions of people are being sold a lie. A lie that you need fancy bottles, complicated formulas, and harsh chemicals to grow your hair back. But the truth is much simpler and much more powerful. There is one natural oil sitting right in your kitchen that has been used for generations, and that oil is coconut oil. My friends, you need to understand something very important, and this is where most people go wrong when it comes to hair loss. They focus only on the hair, what they see in the mirror, thinning strands, breakage, shedding, and they try to fix it from the outside. They buy serums, sprays, shampoos, and treatments, hoping that something will magically restore what's been lost. But they are treating the symptom, not the cause. Because the real truth is this: hair health does not begin at the surface. It begins deep within the scalp, at the level of the follicle. And if that environment is not healthy, your hair doesn't stand a chance. Let me explain. Each strand of hair on your head grows from a tiny structure called a follicle. Think of this follicle like a living factory. It requires oxygen, nutrients, proper blood flow, and a clean, balanced environment to function properly. Now imagine what happens when that environment becomes compromised. Poor circulation, buildup of oils and debris, inflammation, dryness, even microbial imbalance. All of these factors begin to weaken that follicle. And when the follicle weakens, the hair it produces becomes thinner, weaker, more fragile. Eventually, it may stop producing healthy hair altogether. And this is where people panic. They think my hair is falling out. I need something strong, something fast. So they turn to chemicals. But here's the problem. If the scalp itself is unhealthy, no product placed on top of the hair will fix what's happening underneath. It's like trying to grow a plant in dry, damaged soil. You can spray the leaves all you want, but if the roots are not nourished, the plant will continue to suffer. The scalp is your soil, the follicle is your root, and your hair is simply the result. Now let's go deeper. One of the biggest issues affecting scalp health today is reduced blood circulation. As we age, or due to stress, poor diet, or inactivity, blood flow to the scalp decreases. And when blood flow decreases, oxygen and nutrients cannot reach the follicles efficiently. Without oxygen, the follicle slows down. Without nutrients, it weakens. And when this happens over time, the hair growth cycle becomes disrupted. Hair may grow slower, fall out faster, or become thinner with each cycle. This is not something a cosmetic product can fix overnight. This requires restoring the health of the scalp itself. Another major factor is inflammation. Now, inflammation is something most people don't see, but it's happening beneath the surface. It can be caused by harsh shampoos, environmental toxins, stress, poor diet, or even excessive product use. When the scalp is inflamed, it creates a hostile environment for the follicle. The body goes into a defensive state. Instead of focusing on growth, it focuses on protection. And guess what happens? Hair growth becomes a lower priority. Over time, this leads to weaker hair and increased shedding. Now let's talk about buildup. Many people apply products day after day, oils, gels, sprays, without properly cleansing the scalp. This leads to clogged pores. And when pores are clogged, follicles cannot breathe. Yes, follicles need to breathe. They need a clean pathway to function efficiently. When that pathway is blocked, it's like suffocating the root of your hair. And again, hair quality declines. You may notice itchiness, flakes, dullness, or excessive oiliness. These are all signs that your scalp environment is out of balance. And then there's dryness. A dry scalp is not just uncomfortable, it's unhealthy. When the scalp lacks proper moisture, it can become tight, flaky, and irritated. This weakens the skin barrier, and makes the follicles more vulnerable to damage. On the other hand, an overly oily scalp can also create problems. It can trap dirt and microbes, leading to imbalance and irritation. So what we're really looking for is balance. A scalp that is clean, nourished, hydrated, and calm. Because when the scalp is balanced, the follicles can function the way they were designed to. They can produce strong, thick, healthy strands of hair. And this is the foundation of everything. Not the products you buy, not the price you pay, but the condition of your scalp. You see, your body is incredibly intelligent. If you create the right environments, it will do the work for you. Hair will grow the way it's supposed to. Stronger, thicker, healthier. But if that environment is compromised, no external solution will ever fully fix the problem. So instead of asking, what can I put on my hair? Start asking, what does my scalp need? Does it need better circulation? Does it need nourishment? Does it need cleansing? Does it need balance? Because once you shift your focus to the root of the problem, everything begins to change. Hair stops being the problem and becomes the result of a healthy system. And that, my friends, is where true, lasting improvement begins. My friends, now let's talk about something that most people completely misunderstand when it comes to natural oils, especially when it comes to your hair. They believe oils simply sit on the surface, making the hair look shiny, smooth, and temporarily healthy. But that's not the full story, because certain oils, when used correctly, go far beyond the surface. And one of the most powerful among them is coconut oil. Now here's what makes this oil so unique. Unlike many commercial products that just coat the outside of your hair, coconut oil has a special ability to penetrate deep into the hair shaft. That's the key word here, penetrate. You see, your hair is made primarily of a protein called keratin. This protein forms the structure, the strength, and the resilience of each strand. But over time, due to washing, heat styling, sun exposure, chemicals, and even friction from pillows or brushing, your hair begins to lose protein. And when protein is lost, hair becomes weak, it becomes brittle, it becomes more prone to breakage. And this is one of the biggest hidden reasons people struggle with thinning hair. They think their hair is not growing, but in reality, it's breaking faster than it can grow. Now here's where coconut oil changes everything. Coconut oil is rich in a fatty acid called lauric acid. This particular fatty acid has a small molecular structure and a strong affinity for hair proteins. What does that mean? It means it can actually bind to the hair shaft and move inside it, not just sit on top. And when it penetrates inside, it helps reduce protein loss. This is critical because the more protein your hair retains, the stronger it becomes, the more resilient it becomes, the less likely it is to snap, split, or break under stress. Let me say that again. Stronger hair doesn't come from coating it. It comes from reinforcing it from within. Now think about your daily routine. Every time you wash your hair, some amount of protein is lost. Every time you expose it to heat, more damage occurs. Over time, this adds up. The hair becomes thinner, weaker, and lifeless. But when you use coconut oil consistently, it acts as a protective shield, not just on the outside, but from the inside out. It helps fill in those weak points, strengthen the structure, and reduce the damage caused by everyday stress. And here's something else most people don't realize. Coconut oil can also help reduce water absorption into the hair. Now you might think, isn't water good for hair? Yes, but too much water entering and leaving the hair repeatedly can cause something called hygrofatigue. This is when the hair swells with water, then shrinks as it dries over and over again. And this constant expansion and contraction weakens the hair shaft. It leads to cracks, splits, and eventual breakage. Coconut oil helps minimize this effect. By penetrating the hair shaft, it reduces the amount of water that enters, keeping the hair more stable, more protected, and less prone to damage. Now let's talk about shine and smoothness. Yes, coconut oil does improve the outer appearance of your hair, but not in a superficial way like many synthetic products. It smooths down the cuticle, the outer layer of the hair. When the cuticle is smooth, light reflects better, and your hair appears shinier, healthier, and more vibrant. But more importantly, a smooth cuticle also means less friction, less tangling, less breakage when brushing or styling. So again, this goes beyond looks. It's about function. It's about protection. It's about long-term health. And here's another powerful benefit. Coconut oil can help protect hair from environmental damage. Sun exposure, pollution, dust, all of these can weaken the hair over time. By applying a small amount of coconut oil, you create a natural barrier, a layer of defense that helps shield your hair from these external stressors. Now I want to make something very clear. More is not better. This is where people make mistakes. They drench their hair in oil thinking it will speed up results. But too much oil can weigh the hair down, make it greasy, and even attract more dirt and buildup. All you need is a small amount, just enough to coat your hands, and gently work it through your hair. Focus on the mid-lengths and ends where damage is most common. And if you're applying it to the scalp, use a light touch. Massage it in gently, because again, it's not about quantity, it's about consistency. Using it regularly, allowing it time to work, letting it gradually strengthen and protect your hair. And over time, you will begin to notice the difference. Less breakage, less split ends, more strength, more shine, hair that feels alive again. So before you fall into the trap of expensive treatments, before you believe that you need complex formulas to fix your hair, remember this. Sometimes the most powerful solutions are the simplest ones. And when you give your hair what it truly needs, support from within, protection from damage, and consistent care, it will respond naturally, gently, and effectively. Because your hair doesn't need to be overloaded with chemicals. It needs to be supported, strengthened, and protected. My friends, this is one of the most important truths you need to understand when it comes to hair loss, and I want you to listen very carefully, because there is a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of false promises, and a lot of products claiming they can do something that, quite frankly, is not biologically possible. You've probably heard it before: regrow hair from completely dead follicles. Bring your hair back no matter how long it's been gone. Reverse baldness instantly. These claims sound exciting, but they are not grounded in reality. Let me explain this in a very simple, honest way. Each hair follicle on your scalp is a living structure. It has its own blood supply, its own cycle of growth, rest, and shedding, and its own level of activity. Now, over time, certain follicles can become weak. They can slow down, produce thinner hair, or enter a resting phase for longer periods. These are what we call dormant or struggling follicles. They are still alive, but they are not functioning at their full potential. And here's the good news. These follicles can often be supported, they can be stimulated, they can be brought back to a healthier, more active state. But, and this is critical, a follicle that is completely dead cannot be revived. Once that follicle has lost its blood supply, once the structure has been destroyed, there is no oil, no serum, no natural remedy that can bring it back. That's the truth. And I'm telling you this not to discourage you, but to give you clarity. Because when you understand what is possible, you can focus your energy where it actually matters. Now let's talk about those follicles that are still alive, but not thriving. These are the ones that hold the greatest potential. These follicles are often affected by poor circulation, inflammation, nutrient deficiencies, hormonal changes, or buildup on the scalp. They are not dead. They are simply struggling. Think of it like a plant that hasn't been watered properly. The leaves may look dry, growth may have slowed, but the root is still alive. And when you give it the right conditions, water, nutrients, sunlight, it begins to recover. Slowly but surely, the same principle applies to your hair follicles. When you improve the environment around them, you give them a chance to function better. And this is where natural support like coconut oil can play a role. Now I want to be very clear, coconut oil is not a miracle cure. It is not going to suddenly regrow hair in completely bald areas where follicles are gone. But what it can do is help create a healthier environment for the follicles that are still there. It can help reduce dryness, calm irritation, improve the overall condition of the scalp, and when combined with gentle massage, it can support better blood flow. And better blood flow means more oxygen, more nutrients, and more support for those struggling follicles. Over time, this can make a visible difference. Hair may appear thicker, stronger, more consistent in its growth. You may notice less shedding, less breakage, and a fuller overall appearance. But here's something very important. This takes time. Hair does not grow overnight. The hair growth cycle itself can take months. So if you are expecting instant results, you will be disappointed. But if you stay consistent, if you support your scalp regularly, if you improve circulation, nourishment, and care, you are giving those follicles the best possible chance to recover. Now let's address another common mistake. Many people assume that if they don't see immediate regrowth, nothing is happening. But that's not true. Sometimes the first signs of improvement are subtle. Reduced hair fall, better texture, more shine, stronger strands that don't break as easily. These are all signs that the follicles are becoming healthier. And as they become healthier, they may gradually produce better quality hair. So don't ignore the small wins. They matter. They are part of the process. Now I also want to mention something else. Your overall lifestyle plays a major role here. No oil alone can overcome poor nutrition, chronic stress, lack of sleep, or underlying health issues. Your follicles depend on your body as a whole. They need vitamins, minerals, protein. They need balance. So if you truly want to support those struggling follicles, you must look at the bigger picture. What are you eating? How are you sleeping? Are you managing stress? Are you taking care of your scalp consistently? Because everything is connected. And when you align these factors together, that's when real change begins. So let's bring this all together. You cannot bring back what is completely gone, but you can strengthen what remains. You can support what is weak. You can improve the environment and give your follicles the opportunity to perform better. And that, my friends, is where your focus should be. Not chasing unrealistic promises, but building real sustainable improvement. Because when you work with your body, instead of against it, when you give it the support it needs, you begin to see results that are natural, gradual, and lasting. And that is the kind of transformation that truly makes a difference. My friends, this is where everything comes together. Because you can have the right knowledge, the right oil, the right intention, but if you don't apply it correctly, and if you don't stay consistent, you will not see the results you're hoping for. And this is one of the biggest mistakes people make. They try something once, maybe twice, they don't see an immediate change, and they give up. They move on to the next product, the next trend, the next promise. But the truth is, your body doesn't work that way. Healing, strengthening, restoring, these are processes. They take time, they require patience, and most importantly, they require consistency. Now let's talk about how to use this oil properly. Because technique is everything. You don't need a handful. You don't need to drench your scalp. In fact, using too much can actually work against you. It can clog the pores, weigh your hair down, and create buildup that interferes with the health of your scalp. So the key is simplicity. Start with just 1 spoon of coconut oil. That's it. A small amount. used the right way, is far more effective than excess. Now, before you apply it, warm it slightly, not hot, just warm enough so it becomes more fluid. This helps it spread easily and improves its ability to be absorbed. Then take that oil and gently apply it to your scalp. Now, here's the most important step, the massage. Use your fingertips, not your nails, and begin to massage the scalp in small circular motions. Do this slowly, gently, and with intention for about 3 to 5 minutes. Why is this so important? Because this massage stimulates blood circulation. And as we discussed earlier, blood flow is essential for delivering oxygen and nutrients to the hair follicles. Without proper circulation, even the best oil in the world won't reach its full potential. But when you combine the oil with massage, you're not just applying something on the surface. You're activating the system beneath it. You're waking up the scalp. You're encouraging those follicles to receive what they need. And over time, this simple step can make a powerful difference. Now, once you've massaged the scalp, take whatever oil remains on your hands and run it through the length of your hair. Focus especially on the mid-lengths and the ends. These are the areas most prone to dryness and damage. This helps protect the hair shaft, reduce breakage, and improve overall texture. Now, the next question people ask is, how long should I leave it on? Ideally, you want to leave it on for at least 30 to 60 minutes. This gives the oil enough time to penetrate and do its job. If your scalp tolerates it well, you can even leave it overnight. But again, listen to your body. If it feels too heavy or uncomfortable, there's no need to overdo it. After that, wash it out with a mild shampoo. Not something harsh, not something filled with strong chemicals that strip away everything. You want something gentle that cleanses without damaging your scalp. Now, here's where consistency comes in. Doing this once will not transform your hair. Doing it randomly will not give you lasting results. You need to make this part of your routine 2 to 3 times per week, regularly, without skipping, without stopping after a week because you didn't see instant change. Because what you're doing here is not creating a temporary effect. You're gradually improving the condition of your scalp, strengthening your hair, supporting your follicles, step by step, week by week, and over time, those small efforts begin to add up. Now, let me share something very important. Results don't always show up the way you expect. Many people are looking for dramatic regrowth, thicker hair overnight, instant transformation, but often the first signs are subtle. You may notice less hair in your brush, less shedding in the shower, hair that feels softer, stronger, more manageable. These are all signs that what you're doing is working. And if you stay consistent, those small improvements continue to build. Now, here's another mistake to avoid: switching methods too quickly. People try coconut oil for a week, then switch to another oil, then another product, then something else entirely. And they never give anything enough time to truly work. Your body needs stability. It responds to routine. So choose a method, apply it correctly, and give it time. Now, I also want to remind you of something. Balance is key. More is not better. More oil does not mean faster results. More frequent application does not mean better outcomes. In fact, overdoing it can lead to buildup, clogged pores, and an unhealthy scalp environment. Stick to a balanced routine. Stay consistent. And allow your body to respond naturally. Because when you do this the right way, you're not forcing change, you're supporting it. And that is the most powerful approach you can take. So remember this, it's not about doing something extreme. It's about doing something simple, correctly, and consistently. Because consistency is what transforms small actions into real results. And that, my friends, is where the true power lies.